Hey everyone! If you're a fan of the show, please head over to mikeyop.com and click the subscribe button. It's the best way to support us, and it's free. That's MIKEYOPP.com. Thanks!
Hello, and welcome to Coffin Talk, Exit Interviews with the Living, a weekly podcast that explores how our views on death affect the way we live our lives. Today, I'm delighted to have someone on the phone who's a close friend, who's going to be going by her first name only today, and so I'm pleased to introduce to you Jayne. Welcome, Jayne.
Thank you for having me. I'm just kind of curious and excited and ready to share my thoughts.
Cool. Well, I definitely picked you because you are curious, and I don't mean as a person, but I mean your personality. You are curious and always inquiring, and that's the kind of guest I would love to interview. So without missing a beat, let's get started with just a brief kind of introduction of your sense of identity. So I usually ask people how old you are, where you grew up, and what generation you belong to.
Okay. I grew up in Arizona. I am a baby boomer, 75 years old, mother of 3, grandmother of 5. And I guess that's always kind of been my identity. I've always been someone's wife, mother, grandmother, whatever. And now I'm trying to forge my own identity.
Got it. So what changed that made it so that now you're trying to forge your own identity?
Well, about 4 years ago, my husband of over 53 years passed. And so it's been a journey of learning to live alone, which I had never done before. So it's been a brand new experience and trying to find out what it is I really want to do and how to do it.
Wow. I would say awesome because I like the second half, but obviously what led to it is not awesome. So obviously we, the audience and myself, express our condolences. But since the subject of this interview is death itself, I'm curious, separate from your husband, has your philosophy on death been consistent your whole life, or has it ever changed? And what is your philosophy on death?
No, I think it's been pretty consistent. I've never been afraid of death. I've always felt that it is, of course, part of our life. And from the time we're born, we're headed towards that end. None of us know how long it's going to be before we reach that. But I do have a belief that there is something beyond this life. And so that gives me hope and a sense of security, basically. Recently, I did have an experience. I guess you could call it a near-death experience. I didn't do the seeing the light and going to the light, whatever. But I was in a situation that I did have a heart attack and did have an artery that was 100% blocked. And basically, they called it the widowmaker, okay, or widower maker, whichever you want to be. But during this whole process, even though it was, I guess, scary, not because it was just unknown, but I was never afraid. I felt like, all right, if this is the way things are going, then we'll find out what's on the other side. And through the whole thing, I was very calm, and they told me afterwards that was probably one of the reasons that I did so well, is because I didn't have that anxiety and nervousness about it, that I was calm and accepting.
Wow, that's really cool. There's a lot of threads to pull on in that story, and I want to pull on almost all of them. So let me start with my most pressing question. You said that you were calm and you weren't afraid and everything. What would someone be afraid of with death? Like, in your opinion, what is it that you think scares people?
Well, I think if you don't have a faith or a belief that there is something beyond this life, I feel that an unknown, of course, is always a scary thing. But if you have a faith and a calmness about you and acceptance, I think that's what makes the difference.
Got it. So, and that's a great answer. So do you belong to like a formal religion that gave you this faith and this confidence?
I used to, and very faithfully went every Sunday, and we did all the holidays and every that. But it's been years since I have been in church. But the teachings that I received, as a child and into my middle adulthood, have stuck with me. And even though I am not uh, I don't say I'm not a practicing Christian, because I do believe in the golden rule and, that sort of thing. I do not attend church, but I still have the belief in God and the good of humanity.
That's a really powerful answer, and I understand it deeply because I think I've gone through something similar. But um, I'm going to try to do two things at once. I'm going to keep exploring your philosophy, but I also want to bring your husband into it, because I feel like that's where this should go and what would be appropriate to really help our listeners. So aside from the tragedy and the loss, which we might get into, what was it like for him to die? What was it like, since you knew him and you loved him? I mean, I know you were very, very close. It wasn't like a marriage that was getting stale and old. I mean, you guys were as thick as thieves and best friends. So I'm assuming he kind of confided in you and you talked to him a little bit.
It was based on, a deep love, and it began with a friendship that lasted, throughout our marriage. When he became ill, it was very apparent that it was terminal, and we talked about different things. And he had always grown up too, in the church, and believed in God, and there was no fear attached, to his passing. We were able to talk about what he wanted as far as a service, what he didn't want, and it was good, because we were both in a good place and calm about it. Of course, it was very sad. You don't want to let go of someone that has been your everything for so many years, but we knew that it was definite that this was happening, and to try and make the best out of it. What happened is that before his passing, we did actually, like 3 weeks before, got a different house and got moved in, and that was his gift to me. He wanted to make sure that I was in a safe environment, in a place where I didn't have to worry about uh, the house, to take any repairs or anything like that. And that was his mission. I am in the home. He was only here with me like about maybe 10 days, and he did pass in the home, but I do not feel death at all here. All I feel is love and comfort.
Wow, that's
And
incredible. Yeah, so I like the phrasing of like feeling death. So a little bit more on that part. Like what he was terminally diagnosed and you both knew it. Did he have the same sense of death that you expressed earlier, like with no fear, no trepidation? He just kind of went into it?
yes, yes, he did.
Eh,
Uh, the thing when he was diagnosed, and it was so clear that I knew that he was diagnosed in November, and I knew that he was not going to make it to his birthday, which was in March, and he did pass 2 weeks to the day before his birthday. And I just knew that this was going to happen, and we at first we didn't really discuss it. We sort of like, okay, I know this is happening, and he really was kind of like, unclear what was, and then we finally were able to address it. He did want to do treatments, which we did until he decided that nope, that was it. He was done and wanted to come home, and we just went from there. And just I let everybody know that what was happening, and if they wanted to come visit, hey, come on over and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Uh, the one thing that's been kind of difficult is that my children are adults, and they really don't like to talk about death and what comes afterward. But I have always been open and honest with them and told them, anything questions they had, I'd be more than happy to discuss things with them. What I have done is I have prepared them the best I can. I don't know when, I'm going to go, today, tomorrow, 20 years, who knows? But I have prepared everything to the best of my ability. I have paid for all of the funeral expenses. I have left instructions, what I want and, all those kind of things to try and make it easier, for them. They have not wanted to talk a lot about their father. I mean, occasionally they will. But what I've been working on is a list to show to both the children and grandchildren things that they may not have known about their dad or grandpa, things that happened throughout our lives, through in high school and just different fun things. And that, someday that when I'm gone, they will find this and, hopefully it'll bring smiles to their faces.
That's really cool, and I totally respect that. And I have parents who are somewhat similar, not completely the same, but there's definitely some things in common, and it can scare me sometimes as their child. I don't want to hear about them dying. I don't want to think about them dying. I don't want to think about them passing. Meanwhile, my own opinion of my own death is like similar to yours. I have no fear of it. It's just something that will happen. So I guess what I want to know is at any point, and I am going to end this interview with talking to you about you, but I do want to finish up with one last question about your husband. Did his behavior change at all when he knew he was going to die? Did anything change, like the way he treated people, the way he acted, the way he behaved?
Not at all. Not at all. He was still the same calm person that he was. He talked to people in the same manner. He was very matter of fact. When a sister was talking to him and say, well, they find new treatments every day and you can get through this and, on and on and on. And he just quite bluntly says, well, no, this is terminal. I will get treatment to help ease things, but it is terminal. And he was always that way. Once he knew, he was accepting of it and didn't change at all. The only thing he did, he was, and I wouldn't say he changed because he was always that way, where he was stoic.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't complain, and we just went about, and he did as much as he could do, and just never complained about it.
Wow, that's really cool, and that's actually what I'm hoping to hear from every single guest I have who has a similar story. So back to you and only you. You said at the beginning of the podcast that you're 75 and you had a near-death experience very recently, and so you are not like getting the feeling you're going to die any day now, but you are certainly prepared for it. It's jokingly called the big sleep. So what do you think actually happens to the identity that is you when you pass?
Well, what I envision is just total peace and tranquility. And I know there'll be no more, pain or suffering. And not that I have a lot of that now, but that's what I just feel like. It's just going to be calm and serene. And I do believe that I will be reunited with those that I love that have gone on before.
Cool. And so do you believe, I'm inferring from your answer, but I want to make sure it's clear to me and the audience. So you don't believe in like a moral system of punishment or reward after death?
No. I believe that whatever punishment or consequences, I believe that we get those on earth.
I think I share your philosophy a lot more than I would want to admit casually. That's really interesting. So then with that in mind, with this theoretical function of how the universe works, the model we're building is that all of us get to go to a very peaceful place without pain or suffering after we die. But meanwhile, while we're here, there are immense consequences. So does that imply that you've had previous lives that are affecting this current life?
I believe so. I believe that our souls have lived different lives. And I believe that uh, people come into our lives for a reason and for lessons for us. And I believe that uh, we are the same. Like I've had experiences, and I'm sure many people have, where you want to say it's a deja vu, or I can't even say that. I can't even talk today. But anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Any,
deja vu.
yeah, and where something is familiar to us, but yet we don't know why, because it's like, well, I've not been here before, but yet on some level, I believe that we have.
I love that, and I'm fascinated by deja vu. Do you believe then your soul comes back and has more lives, or does your soul rest with you?
I believe that it is the same soul that just has different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I have two grandchildren that I believe are old souls.
Mm-hmm.
They're young, but they have knowledge and experience beyond their years. And I just feel that's an affirmation that, the souls, I guess for lack of a better word, reincarnate or
Mm-hmm.
regenerate, again.
Yeah, and I know I try to stay away from terms like karma, reincarnation, because they come loaded with like a real religion and philosophy, which is different from. I hear that you have your own philosophy that might dovetail and sit alongside many other different philosophies and religions, but it is unique. So, with that in mind, you said you used to be a regular practitioner and you went to church every Sunday, so I'm assuming Christianity or Catholicism. Um, did you, when you stopped going to those services and you just morphed into the current version of philosophy that you have, did your behavior change at all?
No, not at all. No, I still, um, you know, remain kind and thoughtful of other people and other people's feelings, and just continue to um, do good and not to intentionally do harm to anyone or anything.
So I asked this question to a different guest, and I want to repeat it because we're kind of going. Is there an intuitive system of ethics? Because so you've said that there's no punishment, but you also have said that like you use the word suffering, which I like. I think that's my favorite word to explain the downside of human life is that there's suffering, and it seems to be unanimous. It doesn't seem to escape anyone. So, what is your system of ethics like? What how does that all work in?
Well, I feel as far as, you just do the best that you can and to be kind with anyone. And I don't feel like, as far as I was talking about before, the suffering or agony, whatever we want to call it, I feel that we are always presented with challenges throughout our whole entire life. And it's how we respond to those challenges that makes a difference. We can accept something as a threat or a challenge or, go from there. But to always do the best you can and to always look for the good. I mean, without, it sounds kind of hokey, I know. It's like, well, there's always good in somebody, but there is. And we have to approach life being heartfelt. And it's going to sometimes cause us, pain because we're going to be disappointed, but that's life. And that is one of the lessons we learn. And hopefully from the lesson that, we do better the next time.
So, wow, I'm fascinated, and I have so many more questions, but I am running short on time. We're not out, but I think what I want to ask you next is, you were a loyal, dedicated partner with a loyal and dedicated partner. It was a two-way street, and it was 54 years, and then it very abruptly ended. I mean, within 6 months, I think you said. But what I want to know is, what is the difference between a life of partnership and a life of without partnership?
Well, it's very difficult, but now I am finally in a place where I'm in a good place, and I have begun really to find happiness again, which I for a long time thought this is never gonna happen ever again. And for a time after he passed, I mean, I was lost, and if I could have died, I would have. I didn't, but there again, I would never do anything to physically harm myself. So it's kind of like,
Yeah,
what do you do, But I had never lived alone, which was, a new experience. I had always had a partner to share everything with, someone that was my best friend in every way. And we always did everything together. And suddenly it's like, whoa, I'm not going to do these things again. But slowly I have been able to start traveling again. I found a really good friend that, we share the same values and outlooks, and just enjoy each other's company. And she and I have begun to take trips. Was like, oh my goodness, this has opened up just a new beginning for me. And now the things that I used to look back at with sadness, now I look back with smiles and am happy that, oh my goodness, I remember that. And that was a good time. And for a long time, I dwelt on the sadness and the loss. And then, I know that that's not the way that he would want me to live. He would want me to be happy and to have joy and to just go on and do things, not just sit in my room and cry and belabor the fact that I'm alone.
Wow, that was so powerful and really uplifting. So I kind of want to end on that note, but I do want to ask you my final question, which is, you've now listened to your own philosophy out loud in an interview, and I'm hoping that maybe you learned something new about yourself. But for you, I'm actually going to ask the question a little differently. You've lived almost 2 different lives, and I know it's early in the second one, but with all the wisdom you've gained from these 2 different lives and what you just shared and about smiling and focus, what would you say is the meaning of life if you had to sum it up? How would you explain it to someone?
I would say that none of us know how long that we're going to be on this earth, and enjoy every minute, and just not, look back on, past things. Just look forward and be happy, be kind, and loving.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jayne. You've been a spectacular guest, and I'm sure that this will be a very popular episode. So thank you so much. Once again, you've been listening to Coffin Talk, Exit Interviews with the Living. My name is Mike Oppenheim, and we'll see you soon.